Hey everybody, welcome to the Bold Inventor Show. I'm your host, JD Houvener, and you've made it. We're here live every week, Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon, and we're open to a live audience, as always, across Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So as we get some live participants, we'll welcome any questions throughout the broadcast today. Ask away. Just know that we're not going to be able to maintain confidentiality given this is a public forum. So know that while we're attorneys, my disclaimer is there's no attorney-client privilege today. If you do want to have that opportunity, we do encourage you to book a free discovery call at boldpatents.com. I'm hopefully going to be joined by my co-host today, Matt Kulseth. There he is, right on time. Right on cue, Matt. Good to see you, sir.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, you're looking awfully tan and comfy.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Welcome back.
Thanks, man. How you doing?
Been pretty good. As well as can be, I suppose. Working away, having a pretty productive January.
I have not.
Well,
but we'll get there. But cool, man. Well, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Yeah, and you're still here for the inventors out there. We got zero live audience, but you know what, Matt? We're here for you. And so people out there watching, maybe you're catching us after the fact. You can catch us live. Show up at your lunch hour at noon on the West Coast, your early afternoon, 3 p.m. on the East Coast. I do see one live viewer now. If you have any questions, plug those in. We'll get to that. We've got our guest, Steve Waddell. Hopefully I'm saying that correct, with Nasoni, which is a really cool company. You saw from the subject line, he's going to talk about his journey in building Nasoni. I had the pleasure of speaking with him a few weeks back, maybe a couple months ago, and it's quite the story. And he's very entertaining storyteller, good guy. But yeah, anything you want to bring up, Matt? Any topics?
Nothing related to so much, but I'll leave that somewhere else. No, I mean, honestly, I haven't had my head in trademark world, for the last week or so. I live in Minneapolis for folks that, don't know. No, I got nothing, man. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can take 5 minutes or so. I mean, look, what's happening out in Minnesota is awful. And I think we don't want to belabor that conversation too long here on this show, but I think it's something we should at least talk about.
Show, so I didn't want to just step in.
I'm okay taking a couple minutes. It's on my mind, and it's political, and it's such I think it's a really nasty thing that's happening. Unfortunately, it's an embarrassing thing for the government to be able to, not be able to. I mean, I talked to my wife, and one thing she just mentioned, she's like, why are they covering their face up? If it's something you're proud of, if it's something you actually believe in, why are you covering your face up? That kind of says it all.
Fear, intimidation, lack of accountability. It's the same reason they don't have uniforms, right? And they don't have badge numbers. It's meant to create chaos, and it's not too dissimilar to what Russia did when they started the Ukrainian war. This last round of the Ukrainian war, they brought in a lot of unbadged, masked soldiers into Ukraine that were Russian, that just sowed chaos, at the initial outset of the war. And I'm not calling this a war, but man, there are people getting hurt and mutilated and murdered in our streets in Minneapolis right now, and it feels like half the country is there with us watching and in support, and it feels like the other half doesn't have a clue what's going on and doesn't know the extent to which our civil liberties as American citizens have been eroded in the last year. First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, the 10th Amendment, 14th Amendment. Like, let's go. Like, what do we have left at this point? So people in Minnesota, by and large, are mad. We're pissed. We don't want to see our neighbors getting dragged out of their houses, out of their cars, with their kids in the back screaming, to go to detention centers and be deported. Take the criminals, that's fine, but leave the rest of us alone. We don't like being pushed around in Minnesota.
I love that. I support you 100%.
Thanks, man. It's not to belabor it too much, but it does feel like this country has slid towards authoritarianism, quite significantly, quite rapidly in the last few months.
That's a big word. I have to go look at a dictionary. What does that even mean?
Authoritarianism?
Yeah.
So we live in what we would consider to be like a liberal democracy, meaning that, you have institutions, you have representation of the people, equal co-branches of government, right? Checks and balances. In my opinion, we seem to be moving more towards is an authoritarian regime where we have an illiberal democracy, basically a democracy that's run more like top down than anything else, where the executive has authority over, the legislative and the judicial branch, right? Basically, there are no checks and balances left. And that starts with removing our civil liberties, which are laid out in our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and beyond. I hear a lot of people running around on the right, thumping their chests about what it means to be an American and how much they love that Constitution. Constitution or what this president's doing right now with ICE, you get to pick. You can have one, but you can't have both.
Right. Yeah. From a legal perspective, I haven't followed it too close, but I heard a day or two ago, federal judge in Minnesota was threatening holding the head of ICE in contempt.
Yep. He's due to come to town on Friday for a sit down. Yeah.
And that's it. Like you said, separation of powers. We've got to have the judiciary have control of that. So if there's
it's hard. I feel for these judges in Minnesota, and I've read some of the course because there are hundreds of habeas corpus suits going on right now, and there are dozens of really important litigations against this federal government pending right now in Minnesota court. One of them in particular is looking at this idea that people are being unjustly held, right?
Yep.
Fourth Amendment stuff. And you can just tell that this judge is just so mad about what's going on in Minnesota. Like, you can just tell that he's looking at this issue, but it's hard not to see 3,000 troops in the streets. Minneapolis is a big city, but it's not that big, right? They're everywhere. So he knows what's going on here, right? He can tell, and
it's going to be hard to be impartial, hard to call it on the merits.
Right. He's got to call it on the merits, right? All judges do, right? Take a look around you and see what's going on. But you also have to know that if you're going to try to hold this presidency account, you're risking that they're not going to comply with the court order. And then you have a larger constitutional crisis.
Yeah.
But, I think I've had to myself kind of bone up on the history of resistance in this country and around the world. Kind of look to our past to see how do we as Minnesotans, as citizens of this country, push back against this. And as a Minnesotan, my initial inclination is always to find common ground and come together and if they must have, let's get to yes, right? This is what I want. This is what you want. There's got to be common ground. It's not going to work like that here.
You don't think so?
No, it's I was talking to an attorney the other day. She is one of my favorite attorneys. Does a lot of work regarding domestic abuse, and we were just chatting through, just reality check. Like, hey, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Like, did that just happen? Did Kristi Noem just call him a domestic terrorist? Like, are we watching the same thing here? Sorry, I know I'm kind of getting off tangent here, but she works a lot with victims of domestic abuse, and her point was, Matt, like, this situation between the federal government, ICE, Minnesota, this is a domestic abuser situation, right? We're getting roughed up all the time, right? We're getting gaslit all the time. And you can't just, in an abuser situation, you can't just sit back and hope they go away. You have to fight, you have to push, you have to make your voice heard, you have to gather support. That's the only way that we're gonna, push back against this federal overreach.
Yeah.
I never thought that I'd be saying the word federal overreach under a Republican administration, but here we are.
Yeah, I agree.
So, anyways, sorry to go off on a.
This is really good. I'm glad, and this is obviously there's been a whole lot more talking about it. We're obviously not in this. I'm in Washington State, but we're looking at Friday, right? The Friday nationwide ICE out. We're going to participate. We actually had students from our local high school step out and protest yesterday. It's really something. We have a lot. We're in a farming agriculture area. Yep. A lot of colored individuals and families that we know. It's just we want to support and show that this is inequitable. It's not fair. It's not justice.
It's not. And I hope that on some level, we can stop it here in Minneapolis. It doesn't have to spread to other major cities around the country. I don't think hopefully that's going to happen, to be completely honest. Yeah.
Well, all this going on, I mean, I didn't want to just say, give it a one-liner and then move on back.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if you wanted to touch it or not, because it's important to me. It's not important to all my clients. Right.
Well, so maybe bringing this around, as an inventor, as someone who is trying to make a difference with a product or a solution, there's going to be all kinds of macro issues in the world, and there has been, right? We had COVID, we had lots of different things. You could have wars.
Now is not necessarily the easiest time to go into manufacturing, if that's what you're trying to do.
Right.
Alliances are shifting all across the globe right now. Tariffs are changing all around the world right now. It is not easy to be a manufacturer. Which, I think is kind of part of the point. So that, we try to do more manufacturing here in the United States, but again, it's expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive. So anyhow, I think, I don't know. We have a guest that's been waiting backstage. I think we bring him on.
He's probably just shaking his head back there like, what did I sign up for?
And Steve, here, let's bring him on. Steve Waddell, welcome to the show. Steve, I appreciate you being part of the Bold Inventor Show.
Hey guys, how you doing, Matt, JD?
Hey, we're doing good. We're sort of digressing from our typical chat here, as you could imagine. I didn't expect we would, but I do want to give you a little bit. You wanted to say something else? I don't want to just gloss over it. Did you want to participate in that?
No, I think it's best, man, to stay out of politics. It's just too controversial everywhere. So I'll leave that stuff for somebody else.
I appreciate that. Well, so you're an inventor, and you're with Nasoni. Am I saying that correct?
Nasoni,
okay. And
yeah.
Steve, why don't you give us a background about yourself, if you would?
Sure.
Where you were leading up to starting Nasoni.
Absolutely. So my background is 25 years building nuclear-powered aircraft carriers at Newport News Shipbuilding. Starting on the waterfront, working with my hands as an apprentice in the apprentice school, and
which port?
Newport News Shipbuilding in Newport News, Virginia.
Cool, that's awesome.
And when you're on your hands with the waterfront, right, you're working with the trades, but you're going to school 2 days a week. And I went to college at night, got my MBA as well at night, and then I got into engineering, and I started out getting trained to be a refueling engineer, and I ended up having Reactor Plant 2A. Responsibility for refueling the USS Enterprise, which is the only aircraft carrier that had 8 reactors. All the rest have 2. So that was a major refueling back 1989 to 92. And then I spent more years in engineering where I did a lot of different things. And, when you're in a naval nuclear environment, it's hard being an entrepreneur because you see things that you want to change and fix, right? And you got all these rigid rules and everything else. The nuke part was the hardest part of my career because I'm not somebody who likes to stay in a box, right? And anyway, I did a lot of different things that resulted in a lot of change in the shipyard for the good. I mean, big changes. And then in 2007, I took the jump. I left and joined my wife's company. Her company is Reed Integration. If you go to reedsintegration.com, it's Reed, R-E-E-D, 2 E's. That's her company, and it's a government consulting business. And we grew it from pretty much a startup to a multi-million-dollar business. And she just continued the charge. She just won a $30 million Marine Corps contract, and she's doing fantastic. I'm really proud of her. She's an aerospace engineer. I tease her because she's blonde. I call her my blonde rocket scientist. But I worked with her for about 10 years. And in that journey, along that time frame, you get to watching Shark Tank, right? Everybody, inventors like to watch Shark Tank. And you get inspired, right? You get inspired. And you think, okay, I want to solve my own problem. It's how I wanted to invent something. And my issue was, and I'm going to ask both of you, when you go to rinse after you brush, it's a simple problem. When you rinse after you brush your teeth, do you tilt your head, cup your hand, or use a cup to rinse?
I use my hand. I just swish it out. Yeah.
Okay, so both of you use your hand.
We have the faucet.
Okay, so Matt, you tilt your head, and JD, you cup your hand, right?
Yeah.
I've asked a lot of people the same question. And one guy told me he brushed his teeth in the shower. I'm like, holy crap, I never heard of that. But I decided I would build a proof of concept, and I did. I went to Lowe's, I bought a faucet, I bought a fiberglass sink that you have like in a laundry room, put the faucet on it, and I put a shut-off valve at the bottom of the mouth of the faucet, I drilled a hole in the top, and when I turned the lever, it shot out the top like a water fountain to create a water fountain on the faucet. And I thought, this is a cool idea. Actually, the name and the idea came from the Nasoni fountains of Rome. There's 2,500 of them. They were installed in 1870s. And they wanted to make water more equitable, to make it free for the Roman citizens. So they flowed water from the Apennine Mountains down through the Roman aqueducts and up through these street fountains. And when the water comes out this little tube hanging off the side of what looks like a fire hydrant, you plug the bottom and it pops out like a water fountain. That's where the idea came from, right? And so the name Nasoni comes from those Nasoni fountains of Rome. So I made that proof of concept, and I'm all proud of it, right? Now, I had a stepfather. He passed away since then, but he was 6'3", so I looked up to him all my life, literally and figuratively, because I'm about 5'8" on a good day. And I go to him one day, and I show him this video I'd made of this proof of concept. And he's like, what the hell are you going to do with that? And I said, well, when you got a wrench, you got to cup your hand, tilt your head, and use a cup, right? And he looks at me and goes, no, straight-faced. And I said, no, what do you do? Now, remember, he was 83. He said, I just take my teeth out and put them in a cup. I said, okay, you're not my target market, right? So, long story short, I got on this journey. And, like all startups, you don't have any money, right? So I decided I'll enter local startup competitions. So I took that proof of concept and I entered a startup called 757, competition called 757, Start 757. And it was Old Dominion University. And I won $757, but also won $20,000 in consulting services. And so that helped me get a little further along. And I continued that journey and I entered Inc. 5000, it was Get Started Hampton Roads, hosted by Inc. Magazine and Cox Media. And I won that. I won Judge's Favorite, which was $10,000 in cash and prizes. And I won Audience Favorite, $250 American Express gift card. And so I took that money and, I've been reading every startup book I could find. I never could find one that covered the whole journey, start to finish. But there was one book, I think, called The Mom Inventor's Handbook by Tamara Matasoff. And she had recommended some guy named Justin Ayo and to make a prototype. So I reached out to him. And what he did is he rebuilt just the spout of the faucet, right, that I could put on an existing, the faucet I bought from Lowe's. It was Delta. And it cost me $7,500. So I took the $5,000 check I got from the winnings.
That's an expensive faucet.
Yeah. So I took $2,500 from my own pocket, added it to the $5,000, and made that prototype. And now I've got a pretty good looking prototype. And I hear about this competition, another competition. This time it's bigger, though. It's out in California. It's with Steve Harvey as the host. And it was called Steve Harvey's Thunderdome. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to apply for this. And you had to make a video and shoot cinema video. And I went through the process, multiple rounds of editing, multiple rounds of shooting. And I applied. And I actually got to go on stage with Steve Waddell. I got flown out to California and competed against another entrepreneur. Now, this other entrepreneur, he had invented a product that was a heated mask that you wore over your eyes and your nose. And what it would do is relieve sinus pressure. And long story short, I won't go into all the details, but I won $50,000 by beating him and took that money and used it to build my MVP. And I actually hired a company, Product Quick Start, Noah McNeely down in Georgia. And we built a great, in fact, I've got one of them here. This is an example of the faucets. You see this lever right here, you rotate it, and it shuts off the downward flow and becomes a water fountain. And this, again, I continue to look for shows to find ways to get to market and make money. So there was another show called Entrepreneur Elevator Pitch. You guys heard of that?
Can I just put a little timeout here?
Yeah.
And by the way, I can hear you, but if there's a way to have you switch your microphone, it was good when we first started. And then
maybe it's because if I sit up closer, is that better?
Go ahead and try one more time.
If I'm up here closer, is that better?
It's about the same. So if I can hear you well, there's a little bit of an echo, but I was just going to ask about the patent side of things. So as you were kind of going through this process of manufacturing your first, MVP, did you at that point decide to file a patent? And walk us through your IP journey.
So that is a great question. So when I first came up with an engineered design, nobody was using freelancers back then. This is 2015, 16, and it was back when Elance was around and Odesk, and they merged and became Upwork. So I was using Elance, and it was expensive. I tried to hire a patent attorney locally, and I couldn't afford it. And so I went online, and well, first of all, let me back up. To get to my first engineered design, I went on Elance, and I found a freelancer that actually was in Thailand, and he's from the U.S. He had fluid dynamics background, CAD modeling, and we came up with a design I liked. Now, what's the first thing entrepreneurs think when they have their own engineered design? I got to patent it because somebody's going to steal it, right? That's exactly the thing you think. So that's when I went and turned to a patent attorney locally, and again, I couldn't afford it. And I thought, let me go back on Elance and see what I can find. And I found a patent attorney in India, and I hired him. He had U.S. experience, patent office experience, and we filed a utility patent and a design patent. Now, this is where I learned, because as I iterated and got more funding and got to an MVP, the design changed. So my patent was useless.
Okay.
So there's a specific point in the process that you need to file your patent. You can't do it too early. So in my book, I did write a book, and it's called Valuepreneurs. You can find it on Amazon.
Nice.
And it's got 367 5-star reviews from all over the world. But if you look at the process, when you go through it, it tells you that you want to file a provisional patent early on, right? And it gives you when to file it. And you can make a decision. Do I have the skills to keep going? Am I going to be able to really build this MVP, market, and sell it? Or am I better off licensing it? So there's a decision point in the process for that. And then it tells you later on when to patent.
Perfect. So hindsight, you would have done a provisional, left it open to having, like you said, that design iterate and change over time. So you end up with this MVP that doesn't necessarily match what you've got a patent application out there for. Did you file a subsequent? Were you able to protect it in any way?
Yeah, but you know what? I did. The entrepreneur journey is hard, right? It's never a straight line from down here to the goal. It's full of pitfalls, right? And so when you're on that journey, you got to find whatever you're passionate about. Because if you're not, you're going to quit, Right. And I'll give you an example of what I encountered. In COVID really forced me to change my entire business. But in COVID, and I'll explain that in a minute, but COVID, one of my investors said, hey, I know the head of product development at Home Depot. You want to talk to him? And I said, sure. And I said, let me drive down to Georgia. I'll meet him at their headquarters. And they said, no, we can't do that because of COVID. So I sent him one of our faucets. And the meeting ended though later with, our customers prefer traditional faucets, so they were going to pass. Well, a year later, I get an email from Tiffany Crewman's, a good friend of mine that was on season 1 of Shark Tank, got a deal with Barbara Corcoran, and her email said, I'm so mad. Why is she mad? Turns out Home Depot copied me. They came out with their own version of our faucet in a Glacier Bay model, and it's just so infuriating. Now, what do you do, right? I mean, can me as a single person with no real attorney representation go take on Home Depot? No, not really, not with their legal team.
So they did. So is it still selling the Glacier Bay? That's their internal brand, I think.
Yeah, if you go on HomeDepot.com and type in fountain faucet, you'll find it.
And so you could potentially still.
They made some minor changes on the internal and how the water flows, but in general they copied it. I mean, and you'll see there's a black version, and the black is the one that I sent them. There's a chrome version and a black version.
Yeah, man. So okay, that happened during COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had three Black Swan events. Click on the black one. There's see where it says brush nickel, I think, and you're highlighted on brush nickel. There you go. Click on that one. That's the one. I sent them that model.
Oh man. Okay, so you've seen them infringe. Did you ever approach them and say, "Hey, look, this is infringement"? Did you make it clear that?
No, I gave up on that. You can only fight so many battles, right? So I had that was the third in the Black Swan events that I call it. The first one was in 2019 when we go to market. After I got investment, a seed round of investment, our product is being shipped here, and I got hit with a 25% China tariff. Now, on a $200,000 order, that was $50,000 that I had to cough up. And so that was my entire marketing budget got wiped out just like that. And then 3 months later, COVID hits. Now, you can't go market a fountain faucet where people are wearing masks and fighting over toilet paper. and all the trade shows we applied for were canceled.
Yeah.
Right? Because nobody's going to meet the trade shows because of that.
So, in the past 5 years, what has transpired?
That's a great question. So, like all entrepreneurs, you got to keep your eyes and ears open, right? And one day my wife said, well, I had to pull money out of my 401k, by the way, to keep the company alive. I ended up pulling $262,000 out as a promissory note to the company. And I kept it alive long enough that I was introduced to Dr. Lisa Caperna. Lisa was the clinical director at Old Dominion University Monarch Physical Therapy. And she saw the faucet and said, oh my gosh, if I had a sensor version of that, we could help spinal cord injured patients live more independently. And I thought, wow, my wife had said, you got to think about a grant and to keep it going. I thought, what am I going to do with a grant and a fountain faucet? But when Lisa said that, it dawned on me, there's that grant opportunity, right? Well, I have a background in risk management. I wrote the risk management process for the aircraft carrier programs at Newport News Shipbuilding. And when I looked up grants, phase 1 grants have about a 13% win rate. So I had to figure out how to de-risk that.
Yeah.
And so I went and found the best grant writer I could, and I hired him. Now, he was going to charge me $10,000 for a phase 1, and I needed another $10,000. While they were doing the PPP loans, remember those?
No.
PPP loans came out during COVID to help businesses survive. Okay. And I was able to get $20,000. And so I said, I'm going to gamble half of it, on this grant, because it's de-risked, right? I won the phase 1 grant for $259,000, and we went through it all the way to clinical trials and went fantastic. And so now I got to apply for a phase 2. And again, I needed $15,000 now because it's a bigger proposal to hire my grant writer again. So I went to the state, Virginia Innovative Partnership Corporation, applied for a $75,000 CCF loan, or not loan, but grant.
Grant.
And I won that and hired my grant writer and proceeded down now with building that smart faucet next generation based on what we learned in phase 1, right?
So this is the National Institute of Health?
Yeah.
Grant?
And along the way of doing that, I thought, my mother-in-law was taking care of my father-in-law as he declined with dementia, and they fell in the shower. And I thought, why are they washing their hair in the shower? Because it's not safe. Can't they do it in the bathroom sink? Well, no, you can't get your head underneath the faucet, right? Too low. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to apply for a grant with the National Institute of Aging and see if I can win one to do this for Alzheimer's and dementia. Well, long story short, I found Dr. Minokrabi, East Virginia Medical School, got him on board. He said, Steve, I like you. I like the idea. My problem is I got to call my patients every morning and night to remind them to take their meds. I said, well, let's put that in the grant too. Long story short, man, here is this cool faucet. We're actually in clinical trials right now. And you can see it swivels. If you want to wash your hair, if you want to have somebody help you do it, it's just fantastic. And one of the things we learned from people in wheelchairs is they want to control the faucet closer to their wheelchair. So we actually invented a remote control. You can see that like cool functionality.
Yeah, I see that.
So yeah, we've just done so many things. And I am heavily patenting, all the stuff we're doing, but I'm also trademarking. So this goes to Matt. One day I came up with a motion mark. Right? Have you ever applied for a motion mark, Matt?
No.
So a motion mark, we actually put our logo in motion. If you see the logo on my shirt, you see it has a water drop in blue?
Yeah.
That water drop, so the handle on the end goes into motion and it keeps that water drop over and it just moves in motion and it's really cool. And I had a guy tell me that had been in marketing for 25 years. He goes, dude, you better find a way to trademark that because somebody's going to steal it. So I looked into it and sure enough, there's a thing called a motion mark. And I applied for it and I got it. We formally have a motion mark approved by the patent office. So
Steve, I've filed over 2,000 trademarks in my career. I've never filed a motion trademark.
That's cool.
I've never heard of it before. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you this, I've also since learned you can do a sound mark as well. The Homer Simpson, that go, that's trademarked.
Okay, so you've evolved from fountains, faucets to a wellness product for aging or those that are disabled, right?
All of it. So, so Alzheimer's and dementia, and think about this. We start with the worst case, the spinal cord injured, but if we can help them, we can help even the lesser enabled, right? They're the ones that are not as bad off, right? So it's really cool what we're doing. It's a big mission. And, my father, we're now doing fall prediction as well. It's too long to get into in this call, but we've invented a new way to do that as well. And it's just really cool.
Well, I want to show off your website a little bit. And for those on the podcast, we're going to nasoni.com. And you've got that right here. You've got your smart faucet right on the front page. I scroll down a little bit. And the Nasoni fountain faucet. This is the latest version, right?
Yeah, and you can actually go to Wayfair and type Nasoni in Wayfair, and you can buy them off Wayfair too.
Okay. And this is saying that you've got a NIH back clinical trials fall 25. Is this now done with those trials, or is it still?
We're still doing them now. We're still actually in the middle of trials. That was enrolling.
Okay.
So yeah, they're still going.
And so the purpose of that is to get certification, correct?
Well, it's also there's an iterative process where we design a solution in phase 1, we test it in a clinical trial with the patient population in clinic, and we get feedback. We go iterate that in phase 2, and then we start to test it first off in the clinic in year 1, and then in year 2, it's a 2-year grant, we do it in home. So we're in the middle of in-home trials now with the faucet with spinal cord injured patients.
And is it going to open up doors, you think, when you're done with that, to health or healthcare facilities, that type of thing?
Yeah, we've actually now become more of a health tech company. So this post-COVID pivot is where we are. In this tool we're using, StreamYard, is there a way to chat and send you a file?
You can. I think we might be limited in how much time we've got.
I was going to send you one of the motion marks so you can see it.
See if you can email it over. See if I can pull it up. I did want to get to a question that I know I asked a lot. A lot of people, potential clients ask us, "Gosh, patenting seems so expensive. Is it worth it?" And you've done a lot of that IP acquisition, sounds like, and you've been in business now for a long time, now kind of finding your sort of niche. Was it worth it? Looking back, ROI, high level, or is it going to be worth it to invest as much as money?
That's a great question. I am actually I have a entrepreneur in residence from the NIA on my team, and he actually said to me, because he was helping with financials for a while, that Steve, you spend more on patents than any of my portfolio companies. He has 26 portfolio companies. And we developed what we're doing now in this new radar side. We call what we call a combinatorial patent strategy, and it's multi-layered. And so I am investing heavily in that because we do a lot of AI and machine learning and other things like that. It's a rapidly growing space, and we want to protect it. So, yeah, I'm a big believer in doing that, even though I got burned by Home Depot. I still believe in what we're doing and with the patents.
Well, that's good. I just have to ask that question. I mean, you said you're not willing to, go to bat, if you will, and spend the money it might take to enforce a patent. Why do you keep investing in patents?
Well, the other reason for that was the third Black Swan event at the time, and that fight on that hardware journey was hard, okay? And so I was kind of at the end of that journey, and so this pivot had to happen. That fight would have been one more drag out, that I couldn't endure because of money, right? And if you take a look in your email, I sent you 3. See if they came in.
Steve, I can tell you, the audio is not good. If we're able to get more microphone, it's another issue we're having. I can hear you, but it's muffled. When we first started the interview, it was better. But that is also giving me pause as to how much further we can go. Are you getting his audio? Kind of sounds weird too, Matt?
Yeah, it's really muffled.
I can hear. We can hear you. I'm sure the transcription will come through. But for some reason, it must have switched over to a different microphone.
Let's try this now. How about now?
I think that's better. Go ahead.
I plugged in a different mic.
Well,
come on. That's not working either?
It is.
Okay.
I think it's better.
Okay.
So yeah, I got you turned up all the way.
Okay.
I think it's good. So you sent me an email. I got 3 videos here.
Yeah, one of them you'll get a kick out of. It's Lowe's.
No, the audio is not working. I'm sorry, Steve.
That doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Well, we've covered a lot. And what I want to do is try to wrap this up. I guess to try to keep it tidy here. How about looking back over what you've done? What are some of the big lessons learned? If you're meeting with someone who is just starting their journey, maybe where you were 7, 8, 9 years ago, what are some of the big golden nuggets? What are some words of wisdom you would share with them? And you're on mute right now, so don't do that. Hope we can get you.
Now, can you hear me?
Oh my gosh, Steve, there you are.
All right.
Oh, you're back on mute. You're on there. Oh man. Nope, I can't hear you right now.
I'll switch it back over the other way. Now, does that?
Yeah. I can hear you more loud and clear.
Well, I think the biggest thing I'd say, first of all, is there's money out there if you search for it. There's all these startup competitions, right? And so I went out and I won $80,000, and that made a big difference in the startup journey.
Yeah.
Another thing I'll say is I wish I had a roadmap, and there wasn't one. And so I've written it. It's in that book, right? It goes from start to finish, from idea to selling.
Where does someone find that book if they're trying to?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
And it's in 4 different formats. It's an audiobook, it's Kindle, the hardcover is in full color. And then there's a paperback that's cheaper. And they're actually using it in multiple schools here in the area, colleges and high schools in their startup systems. There's even some sections on patenting. There's the whole process for design patents and utility patents. There's how to do a freedom to operate analysis. Nothing covers it like that. All comprehensive, with a framework that includes the whole, patent side and trademark side.
Fantastic.
I talk about motion marks in the book as well.
Well, I'll go learn about that myself. Steve, thank you for teaching me and for that great story you shared, your journey in entrepreneurship. It's not over. Sounds like you're still conquering great things. And I wish you the very best as you continue this year. What's your big goal this year? We have something fun that you're aiming for. What are you trying to get done?
So we've got $4 million pending in new grants.
Okay.
And so one big goal would be to see some of that awarded, hopefully.
Yeah.
And, wrap up these clinical trials, with good results, take those lessons from that and keep moving forward. Our goal is to make a difference in the world, and we're on that path. And we're building a great team. I got a great group of guys, and it's exciting. Coming to work today is mission filled every day.
That's great. Thanks again for being with us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Oh, what a cool dude. What a great background. My gosh, that guy's done a lot.
Yeah, no, he's been all over the place. It's cool.
Inspiring. Well, Matt, I think we're going to wrap up our show a little early today. Wish you have a good rest of your day. Good week ahead. Stay positive. Try to keep your head up, sir. And there's a lot going on in the world.
We'll try to stay safe. There's a lot going on. A lot of protests. I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming around right now. People are getting really motivated to do something in Minneapolis. So
yeah,
lots of church ladies running around, on secret missions to, drop off food and money for families who aren't working, clothes, books for school, homework for school.
Yeah, the basics.
Yeah, we have. I mean, here in Minneapolis, I'm sure we have tens of thousands of people hiding. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thoughts and prayers are with you and
Thanks, man.
All the Minnesotans out there and anyone else living in fear.
Yeah, you know what? But, it's not all doom and gloom. Maybe something good will come from this. Maybe this friction between these two sides will create something new. Maybe we'll get comprehensive immigration reform. Maybe we'll get some, some protections back.
You gotta remain hopeful. Thank you, Matt, for your words and for sharing time with us today. Go big, go bold.